all for the purpose of just keeping someone in jail longer. It's it's just a nasty little system that we've sort of evolved into, and it's particularly bad in Harris County, where they have learned, these judges here and the district attorney office here has learned that if they arrest somebody, especially out of county, they can hold them there for an extended period of time with no bond. And so in this instance, what they did was they arrested my client in Fort Bend County, what I believe to be intentional. They knew we were coming here to Harris County to surrender him at 8:15. 15 minutes before he leaves to go surrender himself, they go in and arrest him, book him into the Fort Bend County Jail, and the result is going to be, so they get to keep him there for about 10 days now. He won't see a magistrate tomorrow. He won't get to get a bond set until they transfer him to Harris County, and they'll take their sweet time about doing it. And so him, like many, many other citizens, are sitting out there just sitting in jail waiting to get to Harris County. It's a dirty, nasty little system, and it needs to be fixed. This is a much bigger problem.
Mr. Elliott, has your client said anything about the tiger and whether he owned it and what that conversation was or was not?
Sure. There's a lot of misunderstandings here and miscommunications, and a lot of things have been put out there falsely that's very troubling, okay? First off, the Houston Police Department here, I know they're trying to do a job. Everyone wants to know about the tiger, and everyone wants to know about the safety. Make no mistake, there is no crime of having a tiger in the state of Texas. Some people can say it's right, some people can say it's wrong, but as the law today, there's not a crime of having a tiger in your possession in the state of Texas.
In the city of Houston, it is.
Well, in the city of Houston, there is an ordinance that says you're not supposed to, which is civil, okay? So that's subject to potentially a $500 civil fine. It's not a crime, it's not criminal, it is an ordinance, that's what it is, okay? And there is some legislature pending that may or may not change that, but as of today, that's the situation. In this scenario, I understand that a lot of people are interested in what's going to happen with the tiger and what's going on, but in this case, HPD was in such a hurry to wrap it up, confine their guy, that they just assumed, because my client was the one who caught this tiger, who went out and got it, brought it back into safety, everyone just assuming that he's the owner of the tiger, that it's his tiger. And they're also assuming that my client is the one who put this tiger in some vehicle and took it away and maybe did something nefarious with it. And my client is not the owner of the tiger. He's not guilty of any crimes. He hasn't done anything wrong, and he's already been convicted, which is a shame. And now, thanks to the Houston Police Department, which is shown to be much like we're seeing in these terrible places all across the United States where citizens are getting so abused, Houston Police is the same thing. They cannot be trusted. HPD cannot be trusted. We had an agreement to surrender at 8:15 tonight, and they just said, no, we're going to go arrest him 15 minutes earlier so we can keep him in jail for an extra 10 days. It's horrific, and it needs to stop.
Where was he arrested?
In Fort Bend County, at his house in Fort Bend County. And all for the sake of hurrying. Let's just go get him so we can say this is solved and wrapped up. And that way we can keep my poor client sitting in jail. And it's been known going on in Harris County for quite a while. And these judges are all sitting behind a no bond until they get the client in front of them. And if they happen to get arrested far away, then they get to sit there with no bond until they get in front of a judge in Houston.
Where is the tiger?
Where is the tiger? That's a good question. We were working with the federal and state authorities to try to lead them and give them information we had about the owner of the tiger and how they might find the tiger and the owner of the tiger. And I thought they were working with us in good faith. I thought they were actually interested in solving this case rather than doing a double cross and running to the house and arresting my client before we can even finish helping them. That's what we were trying to do, is help them.
So is your client not the owner of the tiger?
My client is not the owner of the tiger. That's exactly right. And we were working with state and federal authorities, I thought, until I now learned that HPD is nothing but double crossers and they cannot be trusted.
But your client is the person who got the tiger under.
My client is clearly the one who captured the tiger and brought it back in so that nothing happened. Yes, he did do that.
Did your client drive away with the tiger?
There's no evidence that I've seen to suggest that he's the one to drive away with the tiger. He doesn't even have a white SUV, okay? So I don't know who drove away with the tiger. I don't know who has the tiger, but we did have information that would be helpful. But again, apparently HPD is more interested in games and tricks than they are of trying to get to the truth. They're more interested in locking people up than they are of trying to be safe for animals and to try to save taxpayers' money.
And Mr. Elliott,
I don't know anything about any other animals. I have heard that there was a monkey or maybe two monkeys there. I don't know, but again, there's nothing illegal about having a monkey or two monkeys. I don't know anything about that. I haven't seen any evidence of any monkeys either, and as far as I'm concerned, the police are not saying anything about any monkeys either.
Has he said what happened to the tiger after he went in the house and before he drove away?
Again, I thought we were working in good faith with state and HPD and the feds on trying to find the owner and the tiger. And again, I guess good faith with Houston Police Department means nothing.
And your client doesn't know the owner of the tiger.
Well, he has information about the owner of the tiger and where the tiger could be found. Again, that's what we were trying to share and work with them on. And like I said, again, I thought this was all in good faith, and yet what we learned is HPD just cannot be trusted at all.
On the video, you hear your client say, "It's my tiger, it's my tiger." as you're
Well,
trying
I don't
to
think
follow.
that's what he says. I think he says, "I'll get it, I'll get it, I'll get it." That's what I hear. Okay, and maybe you hear something different out of that. I don't know, but that's not what I heard. That he was trying to bring the tiger in, and just because you have some familiarity with the animal and you have some knowledge of how to handle the animal, that doesn't mean that you're the owner of the animal. And that's what we were trying to work with both state and federal authorities with, to try to get them to the owner and get them to the tiger. And again, they just double-crossed us. I don't think they're interested in the truth. I think all they're interested in is headlines and keeping clients locked up longer.
What now?
Well, what now is the courts will straighten all this out, and we'll get to the bottom of it. But unfortunately, because of the antics of the HPD and taking my client to the Fort Bend County Jail, now it's going to be a week or 8 or 10 days before he gets probably to the magistrate in Harris County so they can get a bond set and we can start working on the process. And, I talked to the detective, and I think he kind of thought it was funny, to be honest with you. It's insulting. Today is a very sad day for justice. It's a very sad day when you have to realize that the police, when I was a kid, when we grew up, they took you to the store to get your soda pop. When you had a flat tire, they helped you fix the flat tire. And now they're shooting and killing people and treating people as nasty and as ugly as they can, and that is Houston Police Department. Nasty, ugly, untrustworthy. And they have shown that in this case and others, and all they want to do is lock people up and presume them to be guilty and let them try to figure it out later. It's terrible. And Kim Ogg and the District Attorney's Office, Harris County, and the judges down here, you know what's going on. And you know what's happening when you're not giving clients bonds until they sit in jail for 7, 8, 10 days somewhere else. You know it. It's dirty. It's wrong.
Aren't you concerned with the murder trial and current pending case that he might just get his bond revoked and not be out until, whatever you plead to, if anything? With the murder
Well, that's
case?
always a concern. Exactly right. Just like the Houston Police Department jumped to conclusions about everything, that may happen in his case in Fort Bend. Now, I anticipate that when we will have some hearing on this probably in the near future, and I hope I get to bring some evidence forth that shows that this case is not what it first appears. It's surely not what the Houston Police Department has assumed that it is, and that we can get to the bottom of it and see this is nowhere near what anybody thinks that it is. And my client was the one that went out there and, thank goodness, got this tiger and brought him back in to safety. But again, it's not his tiger. And again, it's not against the law to have a tiger, but it's not his tiger. And we tried to help, but HPD, not interested.
How well does your client know the owner of this tiger?
I don't really know the answer to that. Again, that's the kind of things we were trying to work with federal and state authorities on flushing out. But
He's familiar with the tiger. He's spent time with the tiger. It seemed that way.
I don't know. I think that's a fair assumption from watching the video, okay? Assumptions are dangerous, okay? It's the mother of evils, all right? And that's what HPD done, is made a whole string of assumptions without being interested in the truth. But that it does look like he at least is familiar with how to handle tigers, how to handle this particular tiger. It does look a reasonable assertion. And I heard somewhere on one of the newscasts, the officer said that the tiger apparently had not been mistreated, was in very good condition, and had actually, what he said, was living a good life, whatever that is for a tiger, okay? But that's what he said. So this is not a case of abuse or mistreatment or anything else. It's a case of an exotic animal that probably not a great idea to have, living in the city.
And you've touched on this, sir, but I just want you to be clear here. In your conversation with your client today about what happened, he may be having information related to the owner of the tiger, but he is not the tiger. What did he tell you chronologically occurred yesterday when he saw the tiger outside, and what happened after that?
Well, we didn't really go through, I mean, this is all happening very fast, okay? And so I have not had time to go through in detail with my client the chronological events that led up to this, exactly how it occurred. And of course, we see a lot of it's on video, okay? And clearly, the cat was outside, and he heard what was going on, went out there, was able to retrieve the cat. I mean, that's on video. Clearly, that's what happened, okay? But from there is where things are getting very murky on what's happened, and it looks like HPD not only did no investigation, they don't care. They just don't care. They want to say, look, we saw him on the video, he's guilty of everything, when of course that couldn't be farther from the truth. And if your family member or friend or loved one was accused of something, you surely wouldn't want them falsely accused. You surely wouldn't want the Houston Police Department jumped in conclusions about everything, and you sure wouldn't want your loved one locked up in jail where they can't even get out for 10 days, all because of HPD's greed, and they just don't care.
So just to be clear, this was not your client's tiger. He doesn't know where it is.
Yes, that is true. Okay, it's not my client's tiger. We tried to work with authorities so they can find the owner of the tiger and where the tiger is. My client does not have the tiger, and it's not his tiger.
Do you know what federal agency you guys were with?
The game warden, Fish and Wildlife of the federal version.
And you're, just to be clear, you're saying your client is not the person who drove away with the tiger.
I'm saying I've seen no evidence to suggest that, and I have seen evidence to the contrary, okay? But there's no evidence that I have seen to suggest that my client is the one that drove away with this tiger. And of course, they didn't catch him with the tiger, they didn't catch him driving, they didn't do anything else. And so, I don't know exactly what happened with that yet, but apparently HPD doesn't care. They want to assume everything. Michael Elliott, Elliott.
Do you have a setting date for Fort Bend?
I'm sorry?
Are you going to have a setting date tomorrow or anything for Fort Bend? Or?
No, we have a court date in July on the murder case, and depending on if they file a motion to revoke his bond or not, we may or may not have a hearing, down there dealing with the bond. They may not file it. I don't know. Okay, this is a strange case on every avenue, and time will tell. But I do know that, like I said, HPD did not deal in good faith. They didn't do what they said they were going to do, and it was all just to lock somebody up and keep them in jail extra time. And I'm mad about it. It's a sad day in justice.
He was on his way to turn himself in here and was arrested in Fort Bend.
Yes, and they knew it. We had an arrangement. I was going to be here at 8:15 to turn himself in. He was going to meet at my office at 7:30. I was going to drive him, bring him over here, and they knew it. And they ran to his house 15 minutes before he left to go arrest him so they could put him in Fort Bend County Jail so they could keep him there an extra 10 days. It's pitiful, shameful, shameful.
Do you know who the woman was who was in the home? Is that his girlfriend?
I assume so, yes. Again, assumptions are dangerous, okay?
And that's his home.
That
He's leasing or renting.
he lives in Fort Bend County, okay? But I believe that is what the allegation is, that is the home that he had leased, okay? And that is either his wife or his girlfriend. I'm not sure which, I think is the allegation, okay?
Any idea how long the tiger had been at the home?
I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think long, okay? Again, these are all things that my investigation, something that HPD was not interested in doing, I'll bear that out and try to get the answer to that. But no, I do not think the tiger had been at that home for long at all.